Hello everyone. I think we're live now, aren't we? Sorry, I was talking to a blank screen just now, I think. Let me know if you can hear me or see me. Welcome to this live class, Henriette Goes Live. I'm Henriette and I'm your host for today, as in every other class, every live class that we do. I'm the founder of Pro Strings and I make all the YouTube videos that you may have seen before. Let me see if we are actually live. I think so. Yeah, I think that is it. So if you can hear me or see me, please write in the chat box and then we'll practice using the chat box. So welcome everyone if you're new to this place. How this works is that you can ask me any violin related question by writing your question in the chat box and then hit send, and I get to see your questions and I will answer them to the best of my ability, obviously. So whilst we're waiting for people to log on and to get going, we tend to practice using the chat box because not everyone may be familiar with working with the chat box. Now you can see that Enneke has already been busy writing messages in the chat box before we even came live. So she's writing about my new book and she's got a copy, and I think she is enjoying it. But if you are here and you've never done that, just write where you are, and that you might be quite vague and say I am in Europe or I'm in America or wherever you are. So I'm in Norwich in the United Kingdom, and that is where I live, and that is where now the messages are coming in, and that is where I teach from, and that is where all your YouTube videos that you may have watched have been recorded. And it's quite messy in the background here because my recording equipment is all up still because I'm just in the course of recording quite a few new videos. So hello Kirsty, nice to see you. And Cherry goes straight in. How tight should my bowstring be? I'll come to that, Cherry. Good question. Hello, everyone. From Greece, says Nikolaios. Hello, welcome, Nikolaios. Nice to see you here. So, the chat box. Let's have a really detailed look at the chat box. You see the chat box where you can write in, and then there is this emoji symbol. So, if you want to add emojis to your writing, then please do so as well. And then you see that $sign. Now that is new nowadays. If you click on that, you can show your support for Pro Strings. If you click on it twice, you have options. You can get a super sticker. That is a paid for service that YouTube offers. YouTube chat, and then you can also have, if you're a member of Henriette's Violin Club, we'll come to what that all means in a second, then you can post a highlighted message. And I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, since this is new, I tried it just now, you get a highlighted message, and I think that is free for members. So if you are a member and you want to do that, please go ahead. Let me see. Hello Terry, goedemorgen, goedemiddag. Yeah, I don't know where you are, but if you are in America, it is probably goedemorgen, and where I am is definitely goedemiddag. That means good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. And Cherry is from America, Savannah. GA, I don't know what that is. I'm so sorry. What is that? Please explain. Hi Linda, you're also here. You're from Kent in the UK, and Enneke is from Serbia. Really good. And you can see me, and I suppose you can hear me as well, since you're all writing in that chat box. So let's go back now. Cherry asked the question, how tight should my bowstring be? Very good question, because when you're just starting to learn, you don't know that. And even, believe me or not, people who are Georgia, of course. And Enneke is a member, and she has put a highlighted message there. Georgia, apologies that I did not know that straight away. So how tight should your bowstring be? So I said for beginners, that's good to remember. to find out, but you will be surprised at how many advanced players play on a bow which is not tight enough, and we have to sometimes discuss that. Now, your bow, your hair on your bow, if you find the narrowest point, so where the stick is the closest to the hair, it should be about a fingertip width apart. That depends on the thickness of your fingers, obviously. In my case, it is less than a centimetre. I would say it's about 7 or 8 millimetres. If you tighten it too little, let's do that first. So you can see that maybe the hair is very, very close to the stick now. If I play on it, the hair and the stick touch straight away. So I can hear the rustling sound of the stick through the hair when I play. Obviously that is too loose. But if I tighten it too much, I'll only do it a little bit too much. Can you see how wide apart it is now? The stick loses its curve. And I've seen many students over the years who've played with a concave stick. So way, way, way too tight. And the flexibility will go out of your wood now when you do that, and when you always play like that. So now I'm going to loosen it because it's not so good for my bow to have it that tight. So now I'm measuring it, and this is obviously just a rough guide. I can just stick my fingertip in between. Okay, and that is about right. Now let me just read, because Terry is making an interesting comment. The state of Georgia in America, yeah, we got that. Are there different sizes of bows? I've got a soft bow. Yes, there are different sizes of bows, but if you play on a full-size violin, you should be playing on a full-size bow as well. If you play on a 3/4 size violin, some smaller adults still play on a 3/4 violin. You might have a 3/4 size bow to go with that, or a full size bow. It depends a little bit on how much bow you're used to using, and I'm hoping that even though you might be playing on a 3/4 size violin, if you have a full size bow, you use all of it. So you play from right from the heel to right to the point, you see. And best is just to stick with the size violin that you have, and choose a bow to go with that. You've got a soft bow, you say. Yes, there are different flexibilities in a bow. I wouldn't recommend you do this at home, because it won't tell you whether you have a softer or more stiff bow. That is more for the professionals to feel, because they've felt many bows from the stiffer, more tight bows than the softer ones that roll much more easily. Generally speaking, I would go for a slightly stiffer bow if you have the choice, because it simply tracks a bit better when you play on the string, and it is a bit more forgiving as well when you might not bow completely straight. If you're having a very soft bow that bends with every single thing that you do with your bow hand, then it just doesn't track so well on the strings. I hope that answers your question. So a finger width apart, not too tight. It's better to be too loose than too tight. So you can also experiment with that. And if you think, okay, today I'm thinking I'm going a little bit slacker, you might try that. And the next day you might go a little bit tighter, see what you think sounds better. And you can make your decision from there. If you are already into the off-the-string bow strokes, such as spiccato or sautier bowings, then you might want to tighten the bow a little bit more so the bow bounces up a bit more acutely from the strings. But if you haven't learned that and you've never even heard of those terms, that's absolutely fine. But don't worry too much about tightening the bow a little bit more before you play, because for the beginner and intermediate player, it's just fine to think, okay, a finger width apart, that's enough. And when you get more advanced, we'll talk about it again. So let me just go back to the chat box now. let's see where we are. I should know what the Chinese signs mean because I've been learning Chinese for a long time now, but I can't. I am very sorry. Thank you from teachers. You're very, very welcome. Let me know what your English name is because I apologize for not being able to read that Chinese. Brian says good morning. Welcome, Brian. Good to see you here. And Kirsty says, I have a 7/8 size bow and a 7/8 size violin. Yeah, that sounds really good. Now, some people are much taller than others. Some people have much longer arms than others. So you should play on a violin that is comfortable for you. I have a viola that I made many years ago, and it is way too big for me. I can't play it because the distance to where I need to hold it with my left hand is way too far, and it's big. It makes a lovely sound for that reason because it is big, but I can't play it because it is too far. It is too big, and I can't really hold that up for too long. It's too heavy. So if you play on a 7/8 size violin, it's a perfectly good violin for adults to play on as well. And I have over the years in my career had lots of adults that are slightly smaller in stature that play on smaller violins, and they sound ever so good. 7/8 size violins. I've even got a, what is this? Yeah, a 7/8 is just a bit bigger than a 3/4, and they tend to just sound really, really good. I'm thinking I've got a 7/8 violin, which I bought years ago, and it's the most gorgeous little violin as well. So good, lovely. Cherry says, thanks, you're very welcome. Major, ma'am, I can learn the violin. Can I learn the violin on my own? Absolutely, you can. And I think I've seen you on my channel sometime, haven't I? So yes, you're on the right tracks. And I'm not sure what course you are following, but most people actually start my Learn to Play the Violin in 30 Days course. It's still, it's getting older. I think it's been on there for 4 years now, but it's still the most popular course that there is. So clearly people are enjoying what they're seeing there, and people are learning from it, and I've seen some exquisite results. What sometimes happens is people start learning with my 30 days course, and then after a couple of lessons they think, okay, am I really on the right tracks? And then they book a lesson with me, and then I see the most amazing things. And over the years I've been completely flabbergasted and astounded by how well people take in the advice in the videos and how well they learn to play. Which you need to bear in mind as an adult learning on your own, that you don't go too fast. Because obviously if you have one-on-one lessons, you come for a lesson every week and you do one song, usually on average, per week. So you've got at least 7 days or so, 6 or 7 days to practice the same piece over and over again, so that by the end of a week you are really, really well practiced and you know this song inside out. And then sometimes you learn it for a second week so that you can perfect it a little bit more. And the risk is when you're learning by yourself is that you play 3 lessons in one day and then you develop too slowly, and that sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? You can actually and then you're learning too fast, I beg your pardon, and that sounds like a contradiction because you think I need to take in as many things as I can and learn really, really quickly. But actually, for the brain to properly grasp a complex movement as playing the violin is, you want to stick with one thing for a little bit longer so that the brain actually has time to digest everything, take it all in, and learn it to a slightly deeper extent. So this is what I'm saying when you say, can I learn to play the violin on my own? Yes, but be careful you don't progress too fast so that you sort of brush over everything and you go too fast and you make very good progress, but it is not an embedded progress. So if you want to make real good progress, try to go a bit more slowly. I'm hoping that answers your question. And then we come to Ayama, Japanese name. I'm not good at English, but I want to learn with you. Well, welcome, and I'm glad that you have written your name in English words, shall we say. I can totally follow you. You're Japanese or have a Japanese name. Not good at English, but I want to learn with you. Well, your English is perfectly understandable, so it's lovely to see you here. And yes, you can learn to play the violin with me as well. And Annika also very helpfully already says, Ayama, there is a subscription on lessons and the Henriette book is so clear for you to understand, so you are on the best place. That's really, really sweet. Talking of my book, I have written this book, Learn to Play the Violin. Do it yourself violin. A couple of years ago, I got approached by the publisher of this book, Hal Leonard, who are well-known publishers of music books, and they approached me and they said, we want something new. Can you write a violin method that has popular tunes in? Because when you learn to play the violin, there are almost all books have classical tunes as their basic line of thinking, and obviously that is because the violin's a classical instrument. I'm a classically trained violin, so I went to a conservatoire and learned the big repertoire. But I totally understand that nowadays people might want to play the violin in bands and want to play more popular songs. So I was absolutely delighted, also very scared, I must admit, when they asked me to write a popular method. And I have 3 children and they learned to play the saxophone, the guitar, the piano and the flute. And so I was always, when they were practicing, quite jealous of the materials that they had to learn their instruments. And this is why I seized on the opportunity to write this book. And I'm thinking, okay, so we can come away from the tunes that we are used to on the violin, which are sometimes perceived as more boring. I wouldn't say that. I would say they're probably a bit less accessible because they are less well known, let's put it that way. And it's easier to learn an instrument when you know already what the song sounds like. So that was a real challenge for me to write this book. And I've had so much fun to write it. It's taken me about 3 years before it actually came together, because what I had to start doing is analyse a lot of popular music, popular songs that people suggested to me. Oh, if you're writing this book, please include this song or please include that song. And I was writing lists of songs and the potential for explaining the violin technique in each of these songs. So you can imagine that was some sort of sorting out to try and analyse which popular song is the best for learning the third position, or which popular song is good for learning to play double stops or spiccato bowing, any technique that you can think of. And this is how it came about. So after a lot of puzzling, we have now put this together, and the reception has been absolutely amazing. So this was launched in the US on the 1st of January. This was launched in Europe mid-April. So it is literally hot off the press, and delightfully the first reviews have been coming in recent weeks, and people have really enjoyed playing from it. Someone has said they're awesome pieces, and there's something in it for everyone. So there are some classical pieces, yeah, well-known classical pieces, and there are some popular music, but there's jazz in there, there's some religious music in there, there's spirituals in there, there's a lot of Disney and film tunes and so on, because I think that is really what my pupils anyway want to learn. Can we play Disney songs or film tunes? So that is what I've tried to include as well. And somebody else has said this is truly step by step, and I'm so pleased to have received that comment, because that is my aim. That is my aim in my YouTube videos as well, is to make it truly step by step, so that people like who said that? major, can I learn the violin on your own? That you can actually learn it on your own, because I have not overstepped one or two issues that make the next issue much less easy to grasp. So it is truly step by step, and if you follow the instructions step by step, you're going to be successful on playing the violin, you see. And I'm really glad that people have commented that back to me, because that was one of my major concerns, that the steps wouldn't be small enough, and that I wouldn't forget to include any steps. I've got a bit of experience teaching the violin. We've just this spring gone through 40 years, and I'm quite pleased that that has been recognised. And somebody else has said, clearly not having finished the whole book, I have already learned so much. So thank you if you were one of the commenters and reviewers of this book, because I'm absolutely delighted with it. So it is currently being reviewed by the Strad, and we'll see what they say, shall we? I hope you know the Strad, which is the big, a Strad is a Stradivarius violin, and this is a magazine for the whole of the violin world. So we'll see what they make of it. I'll keep you posted. Okay, I'm going back to the comments now. Let's see, where have we got to? Oh my God, thank you so much. I've been learning from your Suzuki Books course and I'm so satisfied. Thank you, Major. That's really, really good. You're not an adult, you're 15. It doesn't matter, isn't it? Well done you for following this course by yourself at 15. Really, really impressive. Wonderful. Linda says, what is the right way to correct a mistaken intonation when you are perhaps halfway through a piece? Should you always stop? That is an interesting question, and you have already done the best part of it all, is recognizing that there was an issue in the first place. So clearly you are listening to a piece that you're playing and you think, oh, this note is not quite in tune. Perfect. So you're on the right track straight away when you recognize that fact. The next step, and I'll come to the rest of your question in a second. The next step is trying to identify, am I always playing this particular note too sharp, or am I sometimes playing it too flat? So you might just play on and think, C sharp, it's not sharp enough. Okay, so you're playing too flat. Let's see what happens on the next C sharp. Is it too flat, or is it too sharp? And once you start to recognize patterns, and this is the way to overcome intonation issues when you are playing, next time when you come across the same note, identify whether it is sharp or flat. Then the following time you come across that same note, can you already anticipate it becoming too flat if you're not careful? You see, so this way you can improve your intonation while you are playing. Now, obviously, if you are structurally playing one or more notes out of tune all the time, then some more drastic action is needed, isn't it? And you might start to play scales where this note is coming along, and you might see if this is an issue that you also play too sharp or too flat while you play a scale. And I think spotting it is half your cure, half your job done. So there are different ways you can work at it. One is, if you spot it as a one-off, just make a mental note, I was too sharp or too flat. Or you might just have said, oh, out of tune. Then take the next step. Which way out of tune? So that you can start to fix things, you see? But if you notice that one note is always out of tune, like I say, you need to do something about it away from your piece. So it is very, very annoying for both the player and for the teacher or whoever is listening if you stop at every single detail that goes wrong in a piece. And that's not just to do with intonation, but that's just to do with bowing as well. So whilst you've played your whole piece, you might just take a moment and reflect and think, what's just happened? Oh, I have not observed any bowings, or all my C sharps are too flat, or I have never ever included a fourth finger in my playing. You see, so at the end of a piece, you just think, how did that go? And of course, everyone always hears what they want to hear, isn't it? So I often ask my pupils, how was that? And they said, not bad, not bad. And I'm going, actually, there was a lot that wasn't quite right. So this person that said, yeah, that was actually really nice playing. You might go back and say, actually, can you listen more critically? How can you improve? Because observing what goes wrong is always the first step, isn't it? So I'm always despairing when people say that. Yeah, not bad. Where do I even start? But if you've got that self-reflection and you can think while you play, that's another thing. Many people are just completely away with the fairies when they play and they don't actually hear what's going on. So you have already made that first step because you have already observed that something is happening in the middle of a piece. And this is perhaps an exercise for all of you, adults and young people. Next time when you play your piece, after this class, go and play your favourite piece and listen with a teacher's ears. What would my teacher say if I played it like that? And you'll be astounded at the things that you will start to hear, which you've never ever observed before. So that is your exercise for later today. Hope that goes well. Okay, so Linda, I hope that answers your question. Should you always stop? No, you should continue to play and fix things if you can, but if you find structural errors, then you need to stop and fix those before you play your next piece. Terry has the next question. This is a word my Dutch friend, she could not think of it in English. Kruidnagel. Has nothing to do with violin playing. This is, kruidnagel it'll come to me in a minute. You stick it in lemons at Christmas or in oranges. My goodness me. It'll come to me in a second. Kruidnagel, it's like a spice. I'm going to look it up now and translate. It is... I've never done this in a live class. In English is cloves. Of course it is cloves. Absolutely lovely. What was your name? Ayame says, thank you, Erica. I would like to subscribe. Go and subscribe to the channel if you've not done that before, because obviously I'm making all these videos. It's really nice for me to see that lots of people are subscribing. That is what you can really do to support the channel. And someone wrote me a nice comment actually this morning below one of the new videos, the new video that went live today. Go look it up if you want to. I cannot afford lessons, so I follow you online. Thank you. I'm so grateful for people who do that. I cannot afford a membership, but what I can afford is to watch through the adverts. Now, the longer people watch the adverts, sorry, it's really annoying to do that, but the more monetized my channel will be. So that is huge support if you can watch through the adverts. If you don't want the adverts, then take out YouTube Prime, it's called, I think. Is it called YouTube Prime? I think so. So you buy off all of the adverts and you play without adverts, so that would also help, but don't worry if you feel that taking lessons or memberships is too much for you. Just watch through the adverts and you'll be amazing, and watch through to the end of each video. That way you keep supporting this channel, because obviously I need a means to be able to make more videos and do these live classes. And then I give you a huge clap because I'm ever so grateful. I want to learn violin while I learn English. Yeah, good for you. Very, very good. Madam, can I learn other songs while learning the Suzuki book? Of course you can. Of course you can learn other songs while you learn the Suzuki book. Yeah, go ahead and learn whatever pieces you like. Terry says that I've been working on O mio bambino caro, shifting to 5th position. Amazing. And this is the big advantage of playing songs you know. It's much easier to find that 5th position when you know what the note is going to sound like. So this is what I like about the method, the new book, because O mio is in the new book as well, under the heading Playing with Expression, I think. And one way of playing with expression is playing higher up in higher positions. You get a very different timbre of sound in your playing. But if you know what that note is going to sound like, you can hit it right at the right note, you see. So it makes it so much easier compared with if you do use the same technique on a song that you don't know, because then you spend quite a bit of time trying to work out how that note is meant to sound. So big advantage of learning songs you know. Learning with Henriette, learning the violin with Henriette will improve your English too. Hopefully, maybe if you want to. I don't know how easy it is to read Chinese for Japanese people. I have no idea about this, but you can turn on subtitles, can't you? And it can be subtitled, I think, in Chinese and in Hindi. If there's anyone here from India who speaks Hindi, you can also switch on to Hindi and Spanish, I think, subtitles as well. So go and check that out under every video, because they're now all subtitled in English, Hindi and Spanish, and I think also Chinese. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, she says, Madam, is it important to keep all the fingers down while playing? If you know what I mean. I know exactly what you mean. Yes, leave them down as much as you can. So why would we do that? So what major means is that when you play this, here we go. So when I play this, can you see I've got 4 fingers on the string. So I'm not playing 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So, but I'm leaving my fingers down and I'm adding fingers to what is already on the string, you see? And why is that important? It is important for what we call the geography of the fingerboard. So we want to get a mental image as well as an image of feeling in your fingers, how far each note is away from another finger, how far each finger is away from another finger, you see. But we also, so we want to feel it in our fingers, but we also want the brain to be primed so that we know how far it is, so that when we play with our fingers with our eyes closed, I can still feel where these notes are because I've played them so many times in the same place. I know the relationships between each of the fingers. If you always play like this with one finger on the string, you miss that aspect of the technique, you see. So you're absolutely right. Please play with all your fingers on the string whenever you can. That will also help you when you're a little bit further advanced and you learn to play double stops, for instance, and you can just feel where that finger is meant to go, or you might go that way or that way, you see. There are a few exceptions, obviously. If you want to emphasize a note in your playing, you might deliberately lift that finger up high and then clatter it on the string, so play with a lot of bounce in your finger, shall we say, so that you emphasize that note and you can play an accent on it. Okay, but as a golden rule, leave your fingers down on the string when you play, and you'll find when you start to do that, at first it's really difficult, but persevere with it and your fingers will get used to it and your intonation will improve big time. And intonation, of course, means playing in tune. So it'd be interesting, Major, to hear from you next time we have a live class, when you've practiced that for about a month or 2 or so. to see if you find that you're generally playing better in tune. It would be interesting. Remind me to ask you about it when you're there next time. That brings me to a point that next live class in July we'll be skipping because I'm going to the Paris Olympics. I'm going to watch a few people do sporty things. So we're skipping the July live class, and our next one will be in August, but I'll let you know when that will be. And you know, I love sports. I never used to go to sporting matches. I used to always go to classical concerts. But there is so much overlap between sport and playing the violin that I've recently got into sporty things. I just find it very, very fascinating to find the overlaps, like how do you build stamina, how do you train certain movements, how do you commit to achieving a goal. There's so much overlap. Did you know that when people perform a violin concerto on stage, like a 3-movement violin concerto, the Brahms concerto, the Tchaikovsky concerto, that takes the same amount of effort as running a marathon, and we don't always recognize that as a super achievement. Whereas if people say I've run the London Marathon, you go like, wow, that is something. But actually playing a violin concerto on stage is a comparable effort. So that makes you think, doesn't it? So Linda says that's really helpful. Close. Major, you're Indian. Okay, so see if you can find subtitles if you need them. Maybe you can just understand English. That's absolutely fine. But if you want to, that should be there. We Are the Champions is so good for practicing vibrato. It's helping me. Isn't that nice? Thank you for saying that, Linda. I thought that it is a song that you can hold notes on for much longer than they're meant to be, so that you can really get that vibrato going. So I'm glad that's helping. Yeah, really nice to hear. Major says, would you support any ways I can improve putting all my fingers down? Sorry for the bad English. No, not at all. Thank you so much. Well, just think about it. Go very slowly, first of all. And because we tend to play, just like I said earlier with Linda's comment, if you play a piece, we tend to be away with the fairies, don't we? And not listen very critically. But when you are thinking, okay, my goal for today is to leave my fingers down, go so slowly that you can actually think when you put the next finger down to leave that first finger down, you see. And then when you've got 2 fingers on the string, really hold them. Go slowly enough so that you think, I'm going to really try that 3rd finger and leave the first 2 fingers down. Initially, that's really, really hard. Yeah, I totally get that. But when you play it slowly enough, after 3 days, you might just think, did I just leave my fingers down and I wasn't even thinking about it? So there's your progress, you see. So I think you're going to be able to do it, because from your comments, I guess that you are really motivated to learn this. So you will. And it's that mindset, isn't it? So it's that mindset that I explained with Linda's question earlier. So I observe that something's not quite right. I need to get this better. What can I do? And then you start to think, so what can I do? Oh, I've just lifted my finger up, you think. Yeah? So once you start to recognize when you lift your fingers up, it's much easier to work towards keeping them down. All credit to you, Major. Really, really good thinking. And it's that thinking that all of you guys are doing so well. And this is why I enjoy these live classes so much, because you're all willing to learn. You're all damn keen to learn. So really, really good. Good comments as well. Is the trill at the end of Chanson de Matin played with the 4th finger? I can't seem to do that. Oh, what page is that? I don't know the answer to that question off by heart. What page is it, Linda? That's the one thing that I've said to my editor. Why is there not a list of songs and pages? What is it again? Chanson de Matin. Here's We Are the Champions, The Entertainer, Chanson de Matin. Oh, yeah, good question, Linda. Is there a fingering missing? No, there isn't. It should be played with the fourth finger, but that, let me just play that. Hang on a second. I've found the page, 91. Yeah, correct. I found it. I'm so surprised that works, isn't it? I ask you, what page is it? And you can respond to me. See, the difficulty is that you can't really play this in any other position but the first position. So I'll show you what we're talking about for those who don't know this piece or this book. So I'm playing from bar 17 for those of you who have it on page 91. Oh, hang on, I'm not even reading the finger. I'll now go to a 2. This is actually what it says. So yes, you could play it with the fourth finger. Easier, I would always myself avoid playing trills on fourth fingers, because I'm never sure of the quality of how it will come out, you see. So what I'll do is I'll go 1, 2, second finger now on C sharp. So I trill C sharp second finger, D third finger. I'll go straight back now. Rather than, you see what I mean? That the fourth finger trill is just not as reliable. Okay, it might have been reliable when I was in my 20s, but now it's not moving so fast anymore, you see. All right, I hope that answers your question. Second position, change to a second finger on C sharp and change straight back on the B that follows. Ah, this is such a lovely piece to play, isn't it? Terry, I saw a collection of very old bows somewhere. Amazing. Some even had ivory embedded in them. Yes, the old bows in the olden days, the tip of the bow used to be ivory, and some of them had some sort of nice ivory inlay. Of course, nowadays we think that is totally immoral to have bows that have ivory on. So they're not made with ivory anymore. And some airliners don't actually accept if you have ivory on the tip of your bow, so you can't take your bow on a plane. I even used to have, I haven't got it anymore now, but a piano that used to have ivory keys, and if there is ivory to a certain value, you can't sell an instrument that has ivory over a certain value, and you have to what do you call that? You have to tell the authorities that you've got that, and you can't sell it until you've got permission to sell it, because they want to know where that ivory is going, because obviously the trade in ivory is a sort of dark business now, and we don't accept it anymore. But yes, older instruments still have it, and it's no use putting it away or replacing it by something else. So yeah, it happens sometimes, and they're absolutely beautiful, but you can see why we don't want that anymore, probably. Wendy. Hello Wendy, nice to see you. What a lovely surprise. What a lovely surprise to see you here. All violin champions, and that is what you all are, because you're all here to learn. Amazing, that's all I can say. And we recently got through the 45,000 subscriber barrier, so I find that quite mind-boggling. I can't even imagine what sort of number that is, beyond my wildest dreams. So thank you all very, very much. Nikolaos says, I seem to have some trouble when playing arpeggios in the return movement to keep from touching the other string. Ah, good point you bring that up, because that is something that happens to a lot of people. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about playing arpeggios. What are arpeggios for those of you who haven't been playing the violin for very long? Arpeggios are when you play across usually 3 or more strings, for instance like this. Like that, or you can... Lots of pieces have got patterns like that in it. Now when we play arpeggios, we don't actually play... We tend not to do that because that sounds really jerky. What we do is you leave the bow, usually in the middle of the bow, and all you do is you pretend you draw a little smooth line in the air with the point of your elbow. So if you pretend you put a little chalk on the end of your elbow, you just do that. And this is your trick. Sorry, what was your name again? Nikolai's, this is your trick. So pretend you've got a little chalk on the end of your elbow, and what you do is you go down, up, and you will find that after a bit of time practicing that, you will make it more even. See, that way. So you don't even think about the individual strings, all you think about is that right elbow. Okay? I hope that helps. What was I going to say? Let me see. Linda Finch. I can't remember what I was going to say. If it pops in my head, I will tell you so. Terry says, I've really enjoyed your book. Wow, how amazing. It's a fun book. Thank you. That's really, really good. I need to go to work, so say bye. Okay, bye, Kirsty. What does it mean when you play positions? Yes. You know guitars have frets here, don't they? And those are really the positions. And what positions are is when I play one finger in its first place here. It's called first position, and most people learn to play in the first position. However, if I move every finger up by one step, so my first finger is now in the place where my second finger used to be, that's called the second position, and that will be on the next fret of the guitar. When you go up one more, it's the third position, fourth position, fifth position, sixth position, seventh positions. There are 13 positions in all. So when you are a bit more advanced, you are going to learn, most people learn actually the first position first, and then they learn the third position. And the reason for that is that when you are in the third position, your first finger is on what used to be the third finger on the A string, so a D. And when I'm playing here, my first finger is on D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. My top note is then another D. Okay, and the first finger on the A string is also a D, so you can play lots of pieces in the key of D major when you play in the third position, and that is the reason why most people learn the third position after they are well versed in the first position. You see, when can you learn to play position is when your intonation, your playing in tune, is reasonably reliable in the first position, because you can imagine if you're still playing out of tune while you play in the first position, it is going to be absolutely hopeless when you move up about halfway along the fingerboard. So as soon as you think, yeah, my playing is really well in tune, then go to the third position. If that is you, then there is a third position course which is in my membership. So the memberships have got extension materials, so you learn other things that you would learn after you have passed the complete beginner stage. So if you feel like that is you, then take a look at the memberships, and I'll put a link to the explanatory video for the memberships at the end of this video, so you can check that out. But then you can learn to play in the third position. So you can learn to play more pieces that go in the key of D major. After the third position, I tend to teach my pupils the second position. When you're in the second position, I'm getting my violin again, that means that my first finger is going to be in place where my second finger used to be. Now on the A string, that is the C, So then you can play, and the fourth finger is then a top C on the E string. Then you can play lots more pieces that are in the key of C major, and lots of arranged pieces from piano music, so pieces arranged from the piano for the violin will then be within your reach, you see. So we're playing the third position, then the second position, then the fourth position, and then the fifth position. And the fifth position is actually a very easy position to learn because the fingerings are all the same as they are in the first position, except you play the fingers a string lower. So if I play my first finger here on F sharp, on the E string, in the fifth position, that is a first finger on the A string. So people think, oh, so Terry, you were talking about the fifth position on Mio, weren't you? The fifth position, you'll find, is actually the same fingering as first position. Mind-boggling that, isn't it? So 13 positions in all. Now we tend to learn the fifth position and then the sixth position, and by then you are so accomplished playing in higher positions that you will be able to work out the top position. So I use a violin method for position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a bit of the sixth position, and then we're letting you fly off, because then people play really high notes anyway, and they can work them out because they've got a lot of other knowledge about violin playing and letter names of notes and so on. So don't you worry too much about it. That's what positions are. But learn to play in tune in the first position first. Get your basic technique really, really rock solid, and from there you can build on it. And this is, again, we're coming full circle. We're really nearly coming to the end of our hour and that's quite nice. We're coming full circle because we said when you're a beginner, don't progress too fast, because the brain has got to take this all in and work through all the things that you're learning. And playing the violin is technically quite challenging, but it's also academically quite challenging, should we say, because how do you distinguish between one position and the next? So take it easy, go slowly and learn one thing at a time. Then it's manageable for most people. So slowly is the way to progress fast, and that's what I always say: to progress fast, progress slowly. complete strange thing to say, but it's ever so true. Linda says, thank you, that sounds much easier to do. Enika says, I frightened to tell you, but I won't now. Have again injury. Oh, I start left hand. Oh, okay. This looks like Russian, and I apologize, but my Russian or my Cyrillic script is not very good at all. So if you could write that in English, that would be ever so helpful. Welcome. I don't think I have ever seen you in this chat, so lovely to see you here, but do explain what the words mean. Wendy says, declare to authorities. Thank you for that. That was the word I was looking for. So Cecily, hello Cecily, good to see your comment. It's been lovely to see you all here. Thank you so much for coming and for all your valid questions. Really good chat today about a variety of subjects. So I'm going to finish this live stream very, very soon, unless I can do one more question. Go on then. If one person, the first person to write their next question, then you'll be absolutely fine. Promise me to take a look at becoming a member of Henriette's Violin Club. That would be amazing, because that really helps me make more videos for people who cannot afford to do it. So I'm hoping that you keep on learning with my channel, and that you perhaps invite others to join in as well. What is the live stream schedule? Yeah, that's a good question, actually. That is the last question that I'm going to answer. Usually we have the last Friday of every month. So this being the last Friday in June. But I was just saying, since I'm fortunate enough to go and visit the Olympics in Paris, I'm not here on the last Friday of July. So we're skipping that one. The next one most likely is the last Friday of August. Let me have a look, then you've got an idea. June, July, August. The last Friday in August is the 30th of August. So quite likely that that is the next date for the next live class. So I'm hoping to see you then. Do I plan a course for the second position? Not at the moment, no. But there are some good books. I used to always use Neil Mackay. Oh my goodness, the brain is not what it used to be. Bear with me. There we are. A tuneful introduction to the second and third position. So this, I always used to do this book. A tuneful introduction to the second position. Really good book, actually. But it doesn't seem to be available in America anymore. So if you can get that, Neil Mackay, a tuneful introduction. There is one for the third position as well. Go and check that out. Really good book. But this is what I used to use for the second position. Dofline, your favourite composer, your favourite tutor, has also done a book about the second and third positions. Really, really good book as well. This is how I learned to play the second and third position. And there are many other good books as well, but those are the most well-known ones to me. So thank you all very much for coming to this class today, and I wish you well, and we'll see you in August. Bye everyone.